Today, we're going to take a look at XYO, the Geospatial Oracle Network. This is something that I've been charting for my Discord and for my regular group, and I was going to make a video on it, and then it kind of broke down, and it took a little longer to wind up back to where the levels where we're looking at, but let's just take a look at it, because it finally hit the targets. So, they're a Geospatial Oracle Network. It's kind of a new thing. I kind of equate them to Link, but for FedEx and maybe other places like that. There's been a lot of really good stuff put out there by guys that were tracking it below a cent. It didn't get on my radar really until Coinbase. I don't really chase stuff down on other, places. I don't want to have to try to fight SEC and other things, just to get a project that I really believe in. Now, I'd seen them before because of the Coin with Us app and stuff like that. I was very interested in things that are connected to it and stuff coming out. But again, it's such a low price that I'm not worried about making, the move from a half a cent to 3 cents. That's great gains, but I don't need the headache. So now that it's on there though, I think it's a fantastic project. They do have some, let's see, somewhere near there were some partnerships, I forget, but they had FedEx getting ready to use them and things like that. And even if that falls apart, who cares? They're going to be used by somebody that needs to track geospatial data on an Oracle. They're what Link is, what Link was, and they're super low priced. I'm going to do what I'm going to do with my account. You do what you want to do with your account, but I can see them being a key player in the space down the road for what they provide. Down the road obviously means that someone else could come along and do it better, but so far they're on the first mover side with a couple other places, and they're good at what they do. They're positioned well anyway, in my opinion. So let's just look at their metrics real quick. Supply is pretty big, but given what they're going to do, I don't know. I don't think it's so big. I don't think it's too crazy. Current volume. I love rotational volume. I like seeing interest in a project. I like looking at the stats. So I've been collecting this over several places, but the last pop yesterday was off 2 cents, 2.6 or so to 4.5. It was a 68% move. It's pretty good. Does that mean that the run is done? Definitely not. Definitely not for this token. Not with what they do. Just no. Now that they're on Coinbase, I feel they're validated. KuCoin, they're cool, but they're overseas. It's not something I can deal with. Gate.io, I don't really, whatever. That doesn't validate anything to me. There's certain exchanges that I feel have access to tier 1 money in more developed countries, and with better regulation and laws comes with less, issues and more safety of my money. And that's my top concern. I don't really need to try to skirt laws. All right. So let's move on to looking at the chart. Is the run done? Maybe for a little bit, but not really. A lot of the guys that were charting this way back before this is the Coinbase listing at 0.5 cents 2 years ago, holding the torch for it, they had all said 5 cents, and they were absolutely right. It finally got put on Coinbase, and you're talking rocket shot. I traded it in the first couple of hours when it got on there. I caught it right in there at the 333, something like that. And I really had it charted to going to 9 and 14 cents. I was thinking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with a fifth wave, and it didn't happen. And I also bought the token to use for a project that I have geospatial need for. So I thought, no big deal. It'll come back down, and maybe I could buy, a little bit less, maybe not, but I don't want to pay more for a token that I'm probably going to use beyond just day trading it. So to get back down there, it was taking too long. It took several days. And around that point, when it came back to around break even, I started charting it for longer range. And I thought, if the windup takes, 1 or 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, it's only going to maybe retest a high. It's not going to be enough. So I decided to wait and just let it do its thing. Let it continue finding its balance between being listed on Coinbase and having access to tier 1, USA money. And, guys that have been buying it, that have belief in the project, which is a good project, waiting to actually cash out. And I just wanted to see where that was. Equilibrium to me was worst case scenario, it goes back down to the listing price at 2. I'm a little underwater, but I'll use the token, no big deal. Best case scenario is it goes back up to 9 to 14, where I was thinking it should be. I think this is around a $1 token eventually down the road as use case gets going. Is XYO able to do that right now without any use case? No. Like right now, it's just guys like me that said everything that I just set up to this point of like, well, maybe I'll use it for a project, maybe I'll day trade it. Like that's its use right now. It's not quite ready for that stage of geospatial on-chain data metrics. We're close though. We're real close. And I'm getting more and more interested in projects that are, Web3, layer 2, stuff like that really are part of the ecosystem that pushes forward, DeFi and things that are starting to decentralize, centralize stuff that's going to just start taking a chunk out of, regular profits of like Amazon and other places that have traditionally held a chokehold on all the projects. So we looked at, charting it once I started charting it like around in here, and I said, okay, where's like the first support and res? Well, we got like, this is where it took off from. This is where it kind of found it. This is where it tried to get over and rejected. And around there, I said, okay, we're looking at maybe going down to like, 2.5, maybe, right there at that area, 2.8, maybe down to like, 2.5, whatever in the listing. And again, that was still okay for me. I thought I'll just collect some more. That's okay. And I wanted to see the longer that it goes sideways over time and winds up, I consider that to be higher the pop on the outside in respect to the market of what BTC is doing and everything else, and in the cycle of its actual tech of actually being used. But just trading it short term for price pops, we had charted off. We wanted to try to exit, 4.2, and that's where it went. So first target was hit. The second target was going to be right up in here, which now that that's done, we're going to chart, and I'll chart live. It's around 4.7, somewhere around that spot there is 5.3 to 5.5. I can see that being retested at 6. Now 6 would probably be, a real hard underside test and reject short term. This is a great wind up over time and a nice, just all the amplitude going out, just going slack, just kind of consolidating and getting ready to go into like a phase 1.1 to 2.2 run. It happened a little too fast. I would have liked to have seen that just kind of trail along and start to slowly rise up and then pop. But we cleared and covered that. Now, I've already sold. I'm starting to re-enter already, and I'll start to collect back down to there. And again, same thing back down to here. For myself, that's fine, because if that does just kind of do like a little sloppy, retest double bottom with some more people that had bought in here, took their gains. The guys that, were years holding, they've probably taken gains into there. A lot of them were posting videos about how excited they were, to make like, a few $1,000% profit. It seems like a lot of those guys are gone. Now you're starting to get guys on Coinbase that never had any exposure to it that are going, yeah, that's a great price. What's 2 cents? People don't really think of things at like 2 cents, 5 cents, 10 cents as like overpriced. I mean, even if it was just a half a cent like a month before, no one really thinks in terms of like, that's a 5,000% move. They just go, it's 5 cents. Like, it's reasonable. It's a reasonable price, and it's got a lot more to run. And when you look at this chart, you go, what's reasonable? Well, let's look at what's reasonable. If you start to look at the hourlies and like, going forward the next, month or two, that looks reasonable. A retest, maybe down to there and a continuation on, or even down to there to double bottom. But I think a 6 test is really reasonable. If BTC is looking really good at that time and the world's looking pretty good, everything's not going bankrupt and, the world going crazy over, lockdowns or whatever is going on at that time in the world. If the markets are looking nice and the sector is looking nice and maybe some of the data starts to get uptaken, you can maybe push over the 6 and that becomes the new floor. 5 to 6 would be the new floor. And then as time goes on, it starts to ramp up to the 15, the 9 to the 15 that I was looking for. Now, I think the 9 area, based on the amplitude of what was coming off there, would have been a little bit overextending. I think that's reasonable now, though, that we've had the time to go on and consolidate a little more and continue on. And from there, I think 15 is reasonable because I think the project is a good project. And I think even if someone paid 5 cents today and saw it go to 10 cents, even though that's a 100% move, most people are going to look at it and go, 10 cents, can it run some more? And they're going to look at the charts and go, wow, where could it go? What could the project do? It could do 15 cents, near term, and it may sit around and consolidate for a very long time. The longer it consolidates, the higher it's going to go on the exit, though, eventually. So I'm okay with it wherever it goes. I would look for a 6 cent retest sometime soon, actually. Enough to where I'm going to hold it, think about it, look at the tech, and debate all that. As I go forward, obviously, if the chart just totally falls apart and the world falls apart, of course, I'll cut losses and let go. I'm not going to hold it down to sub-cent. And I'll just let go and rebuy if it looks like that. But if everything stays the same going forward and it's, consolidated up pretty nice after people have taken gains on the listing, I think that looks pretty good to go 1, 2, 3 back up to the 4.7 level, the 5.3, and the 6 cent level. And then I'll revisit there. I'll take gains around 6 cents and we'll see if I can get a better entry. If not, then, I'll just put in a new entry at 6 and try to get out about 9 to 15. So hopefully that helps you out with XYO. I think it particularly has exceptionally high float, but given what they do, I think that's not too unreasonable. And I think they're super early. People used to laugh at Link and other things like that when it was, cheap and no one was using it. Like, what's anyone going to do with an Oracle? Oracles are very, very important now, and they make the ecosystem for Ethereum really run to the max of onboarding, ways and things and items that have traditionally never been able to be moved into like this tokenization in this blockchain. I mean, they really stand to steal a lot of business from very well-rooted institutions, and they're going to make a dramatic shift. It's just how long that takes to make the dramatic shift versus once it makes it, it's done. Once it's done, it's done. And then no one's ever going to look back. I mean, no one's going to do business any other way. Just, you have to kind of time that and think about that for your own account. Like, I'm not an investment advisor. It's just, this is the way I see it. Draw your own conclusions and good luck. And we'll look at XYO again, in a couple months. If the price gets hit at 6 cents, I'll make something sooner. If it falls apart, I'll make something too. And just kind of, show where I went with my account, what I did with my choices.